They're all liars. And they lie to your face in the most obvious way. For example, Hasan goes, I says, why do you say I work with the ADL?
Partnered.
And then he says, oh, that's not what I meant. Then I show him another clip that says, Ethan, partner with the ADL. I says, why'd you say that? I didn't mean that you're working directly with them. Who
would do that?
But how can I sit here
who would lie like
and
that?
entertain somebody who's gaslighting me to my face live? He says, you're partnered with the ADL. And then he goes, I didn't mean partnered. There's no apology, no correction, no retraction. And he has an audience of people that watch that who are like, yeah.
Plus saying it on other people's shows. So you're like trying to spread this idea around.
It's like nobody could watch that and see that he's not lying. Mm-hmm. It's just like, it's like looking at the sky and Hasan's telling me it's purple. And I'm like, yeah, the debate with Hasan, I mean, listen, reviewing it back on it. And again, obviously You're going
to say you won?
I'm biased. But not only did I think I won, I think I think he looked utterly, he's a liar. He's wrong about he's either lying or wrong about everything he says pretty much. He's unwilling to acknowledge, make one single concession, no matter how blaringly obvious it is.
Okay, Ethan.
Okay. He was baited into fucking supporting terrorist groups, to doubling down on the Anne Frank thing, to fucking saying the Houthies should get a Nobel Peace Prize. There is nothing redeeming about his performance. Now, you might not think I did great, whatever. I personally watched it back. I thought I did pretty good. I think there's a few things I think, listen, I did so much preparation for this, and it's clear he did none. That's how I do these.
If I may say so, as your wife, I was very proud.
Thank you. And I feel like and you could see that I anticipated all of his dumb fucking points. Like, he tries to bust out this Avi Schleim thing, and I'm like, I already know everything about what you're going to say. Mm. And that happens so many times throughout because he's so transparent. He gets all of his talking points from other people's shitty essays.
That part for me was very surreal to see somebody try to erase my family's history.
Yeah, they left for Zionism.
Like,
why can you not admit that Middle Eastern Jews are also victims? In the world of purity testing and grandstanding, of nuance is the devil, the Jews they can't be victims. They cannot be victims. The Israelis, they cannot be victims. Otherwise, it ruins everything. It's like, it's unreal. It's unreal.
Oh, and he doubled down on the rapes as well.
The rapes. He says he says all we have is circumstantial evidence, which, by the way, is how most people get convicted of rape.
That's an interesting point.
Besides the fact that these were people who are mutilated, burned alive, murdered, buried, he says he actually said the thing of we need rape kits on these rotting cadavers who have already been desecrated for me to conclusively say there was rapes. Mm-hmm. Despite me showing him 4 first-hand accounts. And people are watching this. It's so blackpilling. It's so blackpilling. The thing that I'm seeing throughout Hasan and now Ian's video is just the blatant, and you'll see how people have responded to some of this too and what they're posting about it. The blatant, unashamed lying that happens. And it's so blatant that I feel like the people who are supporting them know it's a lie. Like, they know it's not true. Mm-hmm. And they don't care.
Yeah, that was a hard realization for us, I feel like, over the time, like in the last year. at first you think like, oh, maybe they're misunderstood or they just need to be corrected. They're wrong on something. And then like slowly you just realize like, no, they're just lying and they're knowingly lying and they're okay with it.
And their fans are okay with it.
And their fans are okay with it. I don't know.
It's that I said something to Hasan during the debate, and I really think it's true. I'm not a liar. That's why I was able to pull up the content cop without fear and react to it live. Because I'm not a liar. Okay? Anything he shows, I could either he's got it wrong or I can explain it, whatever. I'm honest. Hasan is I don't know if he's pathological because he seems to do it very intentionally.
Right.
He's a liar, and he knows that. That's why he can't watch this shit. That's why he can only watch it through the lens of somebody who's already edited it down and editorialized it. The dogs met each other. So this part to me in the debate stood out as the most black-pilling, maddening, insane moment, the ADL part, which I'll play for you guys quickly here. By the way, the views are crazy, 1.6 million already. So I'm glad people watched it. And I hope, I think the most amount, Asmin Gold's reaction is about to have more views. Whatever. I'm glad people are watching it because I think if you actually watch it and you're not completely captured, and by the way, the criticism I'm getting online is that I'm on drugs.
I always thought Ethan was tweaking. I didn't know he had that shit.
So shitting on me for having Tourette's syndrome, a intrinsic attribute of who I am. I have no control over it. And the other thing is taking me just saying fucking Arabs in the totality of this huge conversation in which Hasan was denying Jewish suffering and persecution in the Middle East. And I'm saying the Arabs are the ones that kicked them out. And they're like, oh, the Arabs? Like, what else am I supposed to say? It's the Arab nations. It's pan-Arab nationalism. It's the Arab Peninsula. These are Arab countries. Nobody's got a problem if you're like, oh, the Europeans did this. The Chinese did this. What the fuck? Why? It's so obvious what I meant. And they know that. That's the thing is they know that. But somehow they go, look at Ethan unhinged saying fucking Arabs. Like, here, actually, I have it. You guys will.
I have no problem with him at this same conversation erasing so many people's history.
Dude,
just
you want to talk about
didn't
hate?
happen.
You want to talk about hate and racism? Telling a 900,000 Jews that were chased out of their homes, their possessions, their money, their businesses.
They left homes, they
stolen.
left belongings. Why you really
Many were killed.
You really think they wanted to leave all that?
They left their communities of thousands of years, some of the most ancient communities in the whole world. And he says the majority of them left because they were Zionists. They did not give a fuck about Israel or Zionism. They didn't care about Zionism. And once again, Avi Schleim, the guy that he keeps leaning on as proof for that, said that his family didn't leave because of Zionism. They left because they were afraid and they were being persecuted.
Oh, and it's also the same person arguing that he was calling those Jews inbred, but it's okay because they were doing something bad.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, like, even if they're doing something bad, it's kind of weird for you to call them inbred.
Yeah, it's
not Jewish.
Let me show you guys what's here. This is, and by the way, I mean, if this is the only I have not seen anyone like factually contend with what I've said. It's only ever been like bad faith shit. Like
you're racist.
I'm on drugs. You know, it's funny. Before all this, everybody was somehow everybody knew that I was on Tourette's. That was like something I felt like everybody knew, and I never had to explain. And if somebody didn't understand it, there was always a comment like, "Oh, he's on Tourette's," and they'd be like, "Okay, that's fair." You know, I gotta say, conservatives who've shit on me, it's been like, they'll make fun of me for ticking out, and then someone will say I have Tourette's, and they'll be like, "Oh, my bad," and they move on. These people say I'm on drugs. And they know that because every time they say it, there's somebody trying to correct them, but they don't care.
I also really hate the implication that comes with it because it's so irresponsible to accuse a parent of that. Because, you know, you're a parent.
Of being on drugs?
Yeah.
I mean,
and
it's so obvious I'm
you
not on
take being a
drugs.
parent very seriously.
Bro, I sat there for 5 fucking hours, okay? I didn't... I do this shit... Dude, I'm obviously not on drugs. Anybody fucking knows that. You know? Yeah, I've never in my whole life had my condition be used against me in such a way where they're actually not only being like, oh, you're weird, right? They're trying to impugn my character, that somehow I'm immoral for having Tourette's syndrome. And these are the progressives. These are the tolerant people. Anyway, this is a post on Faux Moi, which is basically a snark subreddit. It's actually insane. This is part of the web of subreddits that we discussed previously, but 18,000 likes. 18,000 likes, right? Ethan from H3 claims that, quote, fucking Arabs caused the conflict. Now,
That's not what you said.
Now, you guys that watched this 5-hour-long debate know that I was articulating myself, I think, in that moment quite clearly about what I meant. Let's see how they cut it together in this 1-minute clip.
The Arabs created a million Zionists because they're anti-Semitic. 900,000 Jews, approximately, 700 to 900,000, were forced to become Zionists, not by choice, but because they were forced out. The vast majority went to the fucking Arabs.
Why was that cut? What the fuck cut was that? And then
Hasan is smiling because he's like, yep, I got the clip I needed.
I didn't even know what he was talking about, because I was speaking honestly and I was speaking passionately. And obviously throughout this whole conversation, we've both been using fucking as a, it's common. Everybody does it in English, especially when you're like getting impassioned. You say this fucking this, that. It's like so obvious.
I knew in the moment you were using it as saying, like, obviously what I'm saying is the Arabs. But that being said, I knew in that moment that it was going to get clipped.
It didn't even occur to me.
Why? Well, that's why you have to regulate your anger in moments like that.
There's literally nothing I can do.
I kind of agree with you just because I know you, and I think you're right that there's nothing you can do.
Not just that.
It's still, I think it's a
it.
valid criticism, though, that when talking about something that sensitive, that keeping your emotions in check and just speaking calmly and clearly without
to be honest with you,
using that kind of language, because it is going to get clipped like that.
This
He's
was
right.
5 hours of intense.
No, I get it.
Intense
I get it.
conversation. Like the fact that there's a moment clippable, I mean, kind of understandable.
But like if Hasan said the fucking Jews, there's no way you would have dropped that.
Yeah, because it doesn't make. First of all, that's when and what context does that make sense?
Well, if he was, I don't know, whatever.
The Arabs is a collection of a bunch of nations that all collectively kicked the Jews out.
Yeah, I know. No, I know.
If he said the fucking Jews, what is he talking about?
Yeah, I guess more comparable would be the fucking Israelis.
It would be, I didn't even use it like that. It'd be more like the Jews are, they're fucking complicit or something like, because it's not like, I'm not saying fuck the Arabs.
No, I know.
I know you're not saying that, but that's also how, this is the world we live in.
Yeah.
Like it's, unfortunately.
I have 2 responses to that. One, I can't prevent this because these people are out and open liars, and they have an entire network of propaganda and disinformation. As you can see here, 18,000.
No, I got you.
And second of all, I think there is a time to raise your voice and get passionate. And I think that was one of the times. And you'll see that the other clip that came out.
I'm not saying you can't get passionate.
Yeah, we're not talking about what you're actually talking about. Just giving people that clip.
Just uttering that phrase. I get it, but
I did not.
I also
honestly,
understand what you guys are saying, but like, nobody's perfect.
No, absolutely. And again, me and Dan are saying we understand that he was heated in the moment, but we're just saying that in the moment we recognize that it's gonna get clipped.
Yeah, well,
I did too. You can see it on Hasan's face.
I made like one statement that they were able to clip in 5 fucking hours. I
guess that's a fairly good ratio.
Yeah. You didn't pee the whole time. That was impressive.
That's the most.
If anyone says you're on drugs, the fact that you didn't pee for 5 hours, I think that proves it alone.
People say every time I go to the bathroom, I'm doing coke. Apparently,
well, it just makes you use the bathroom more.
5 hours without coke. How long's a coke high last?
15, 20 minutes.
15, 20 minutes.
And you've never once shared? It's kind of fucked up.
I get it from you, Dan. What do you mean? You're my supplier.
Yeah, take that title away from me. That's what the snark says. I'm Ethan's supplier.
What? You're the coke dealer? You've been holding out on me too?
No, because we were joking about Vyvanse once.
I see.
That's what Hasan meant when he said you need Dan more than he needs you.
He's my guy. He's my supplier. He's my drug dealer. Yeah. But I personally, I don't think there's anything I can do to prevent this. It's just not possible. And the other clip of me that came out that was good that I see a lot of people quoting is me articulating myself using expletives and passionately that the way Hasan approached this is maybe the clip that everybody keeps reposting.
Nope. Are you asking me?
About how he says, well, your failure to address
The suffering, both
the
parties
suffering
need to
of-
address both parties'
Yeah.
sufferings.
Okay, well, I remember that part of the debate, yeah.
Well, anyway, it got clipped a bunch. If you,
Yeah.
I think it's the top of the week if you send that along.
There's the clip. Go look for the clip.
But I'm not going to apologize for I'm defending literally. I'm literally sitting here defending my people against blatant, overt, widespread, socially acceptable racism. The erasure of an entire group of people
Yeah.
with laughing and giggling and
Like
And
you're
the-
so crazy. Those are Zionist talking points.
he says it's Zionist talk. He told me it's
Yeah.
Zionist talking points.
Yeah.
That Middle
History.
Eastern Jews were expelled from their homes. That's a
Yeah.
Zionist talking point. That's my
I
problem.
mean, it could objectively be that, but does
no,
that inherently
it's
mean
not.
that it's
It-
false?
But how?
Yes, and with the way that you use that as a talking point inherently means that
Saying
it's
that
either
it's a-
manipulative or false or yeah.
It's taken away from the fact that that's just the historical fact. Like, he's making it sound like that. I don't know. When you say that's a Zionist talking point, it takes away validity from.
You go, the Trail
what
of
happened.
Tears was bad. Oh, that's just a Native American talking point.
That's what he's saying.
If
I guess
you're
it's
having like an assembly and there's like Native American representatives, they're like, this was on the Trail of Tears and my family this and that and I think this and that, and they're like, oh, just another Native American talking point.
Yeah, I got you.
Do you think the Native Americans left because they were forced out? No, they actually wanted to move west. Most of them actually wanted to move west because the weather's better.
They could right now. They could go tomorrow.
And just look at what's going on where somebody can, and on the left, this is again, the patient, the tolerant ones, to come out in front of like, I don't know how many people were watching that live, 300, 400, 500,000 between like everybody streaming it. And to just look into the camera and say that the Jews in the Middle East they were left by choice, the most of them, because Zionism.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like it's hard to really convey.
I understand your black pill feelings on it because I feel the same way.
It's just like there's nothing.
No, because God forbid someone sticks up for Jewish people. God fucking forbid. God forbid people talk about the atrocities that happened on October 7th. God fucking forbid. And it's so frustrating that people just can't just say that because they're Jewish. And God forbid people speak positive about Jewish people. It blows my fucking mind.
You know, it would have been the easiest thing for him in the world to be like, yeah, the Jews got displaced and that's horrible, right? But two wrongs don't make a right or whatever. And that's true, right? Two wrongs don't make a right. Obviously, we all learned that when we were 5 years old. But that is an important part of the equation because people want to go, oh, the Israel-Palestine conflict, it's not complicated at all. One guy's good, one guy's bad. Well, that's not exactly the whole story. 1 million people were forced to relocate there because they could not live anywhere else. So like this, you know, but like how easy would it have been to acknowledge that? But he refused to even do that. He refused to even do the most obvious and basic concession to
And I thought-
anti-Semitism. And in fact, did the opposite. He accused me of being racist.
Right. And I thought the same thing with Sam Cedar in that moment where you showed him the clip of Hasan, and instead of saying like, yes, this is dangerous language, he was saying, what you're doing is dangerous. You. I seriously was like, I cannot believe what I'm hearing right now.
Honestly, when I look at someone like Sam and how he behaved in that moment, I don't know. I think he feels like he's got something to prove. Like he needs to, I don't know how else to explain this absolute abandonment of sanity that we saw him exhibit there, you know, and completely fly off the handle. He's the calm one, and he's coming here getting worked up at me. Somebody said, I haven't seen his Jubilee. Did a Jubilee video, which apparently was very good, where he debated like 20 Trump supporters or something. And someone's like, he wasn't even as mad in that video as he was at Ethan when he called in.
I don't know how to explain it.
You're defending, and this is all in service of the guy, by the way, who says Anne Frank, fucking the Houthi Luffy is like Anne Frank, who, by the way, died before she got a chance to resist. The guy who says that, looks in the face of rape victims and says we only have circumstantial evidence. Actually, we need more. We need forensic evidence, which is a standard that exists nowhere. Saying we need forensic evidence to believe that this person who saw.
But where is the logic? If they died, they were murdered, and then this is a crime scene that was like in such a mass scale, like they couldn't even clear the bodies in time, and then you have the religion, which you need to bury the body as soon as possible. That's their Jewish religious. That's how they do it.
He didn't even know that somehow.
So I'm sorry, there's no time for what you're talking about. But like what? Nothing is. We cannot rely on any information that comes out of the Jewish
that's
victims.
What he literally said. We only have circumstantial evidence, which, when talking about sexual violence, is a standard that exists nowhere for anybody else other than Israelis. Nobody anywhere else does. We only have circumstantial evidence.
Yeah.
First-hand testimony, bro. What the fuck more do you want? And this guy's the hero. That's Sam.
And the poor few that did survive the Nova Festival, they live in such torment now. There's one that even killed themselves because they couldn't bear what they saw and like the fact that they survived it. So I just can't believe that these people even want to argue this. Like, why argue this? Like, why can't we just agree?
It's just about winning. It's all that matters.
Yeah.
For me, it's not. For me, it's not. That's why I'm able to concede stuff. And for me, it's about actually wanting to understand the situation in a way where we humanize everybody, where we can actually create a lasting peace. One that's not built on like hate and a want for revenge and a want for violence, right? Of being like two people who are both been harmed historically, both are traumatized historically, to look at each other not as enemies, but as like they're both the victims in the situation. They're brothers, they're cousins. They should be united, right?
Right.
But it's people like Hasan and everyone else. They want war. Hasan looks at the people in Gaza who are protesting Hamas. Every day, they're still out there protesting Hamas, chanting shit like Hamas is terrorists, Hamas get out, stuff like that. He not only does he belittle their activism by being like, oh, that's not why they're actually there. He tells them that they need to keep fighting. He wants them all to fucking die. You know? It's so obvious to me. And it's so frustrating that it's almost like it's just blackpilling. I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah.
Like how anyone can watch that debate and draw any conclusion other than Hasan is like an insanely bold-faced, psychotic, literally open anti-Semitic liar who blames victims of rape, who celebrates terrorists, by denigrating the memory of someone like Anne Frank. He couldn't even make the most basic concession of being like, this sword had a swastika hilt on it. And you guys, you posed with it. There was 10 swords. You managed to pick that one for some reason. You're on record saying that, oh, this is the swastika sword, right? You can't even concede that maybe we should remove the post. It wasn't intentional, but I see what you're saying. Not only that, it was the Arab tier list. Me and Ben Shapiro in the thumbnail. I cannot concede that this maybe looks bad and that and this wasn't, and we should be more thoughtful. He can't concede. What was the other one? There was like a third one of like. Was it the ADL thing or was it something?
Oh, the
else?
ADL.
The ADL one. He can't concede. He looks in my face and says, no, partner doesn't mean what you think it means. Working with doesn't mean what you think it means.
I'm sorry, partnered?
He cannot make a single concession that, by the way, would not change, wouldn't like jeopardize his position. It wouldn't put him on the back foot. It wouldn't do anything. If he was like, you know what, the swastika hilt thing was kind of it was definitely like, I'll say that was a really unfortunate accident. That would not jeopardize his position in the least bit. What it would do is showing a Jewish person a tiny bit of empathy. Instead, he says, I'm crazy 3 times in a row to what are obvious. Even if, and I gave him the credit, I say, maybe they're accidental, okay? But you need to at least admit that I'm not crazy for looking at this and raising an eyebrow. No, you're crazy. You're hallucinating.
Ethan?
And it's unbelievable.
Ethan.
I mean, it's evil. Frankly, it's evil. And again, go back and watch that debate. We pretty much don't disagree on anything, like on the what big sense of like what's happening in Gaza.
Of what's happening in Gaza, yes. Okay.
Right, and so once again, I'm public enemy number 1 for these people. But I agree with them on all the key points of what's happening there. The only thing that I'm asking for, that I've ever asked for, is a drop of empathy, a drop of understanding for Jewish people. That's it. That's all I needed. So
Sorry,
small.
I didn't mean to. I was laughing at.
No, I know. That was very good.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's it. Just one. That's it. All right. Now they're doing too much. I didn't ask for that much empathy.
Honestly, dude, I will say Ethan is really funny sometimes.
Oh, don't get me started. I'm about to declare my friendship with Frogan. She says I was funny. That's all it took. Anyway, here's me asking Hasan, why is it that you've been telling people I'm partnered with the ADL, which is, of course, a full-on lie. Accuse any Jewish person you disagree with of working with the ADL.
No.
Here, for example, is someone using it anti-Semitically.
Are you saying that Ethan Klein and ADL in unison?
Hassan, let me finish. You're getting ahead of yourself, buddy.
Yes, I do. I do think that that's.
You're getting ahead. He knows he lied about it. He did this a lot throughout the debate. When he knows he's being led up to something he clearly lied about, he just starts talking over me and trying to pre-explain it. He's like, I know what you're going to show me, that I lied about this, but actually I didn't lie about it because words aren't actually words.
Just keep playing it. Keep playing it.
Okay, I will.
That's a valid thing to not only speculate, but also I stand on that.
Why is that valid to speculate? That's not valid to speculate.
No.
Just some random Jewish guy? Why is that valid to speculate? Hassan, I'm getting there. You're getting ahead of yourself, buddy. Here's an example of it being used in an anti-Semitic way. I'm sure you'll agree. This got turned into a whole sidetrack where we start arguing about this guy, who, by the way, has put out a great video. He's like, actually, Hassan, I was a huge fan of yours. I loved you. And in that moment, I knew exactly who you were. I just hadn't seen you in that shot, which is what we said. He says he stopped being a fan of Hasan because he's not close enough to God, and that was a recent
development.
Yeah, recent. So I say justice for dating and money 101. Justice for my boy.
I don't think it's an outright lie.
I worked with the
took
ADL.
credit over it, didn't you?
Sorry. I worked with the ADL. What does that mean?
Yeah, as in like worked alongside. I don't think you're in the ADL.
Oh, that's what you meant when you said I worked with the ADL. Who's believing that? But it gets even worse. Even worse. I feel like maybe the dumbest, most pathetic losers could be like, that's some level of plausible deniability. The second one removes any doubt. ADL. I worked beside them, just incidentally together. You didn't mean that I worked with them privately to get people banned? Of course not.
No, I do think that.
Didn't you say you choose your words very carefully?
Alongside the ADL.
Okay, so oh my God, he's such a liar.
Yeah.
He goes, no, I stand by that. I think you worked alongside them. You just told me briefly ago, you choose your words very carefully, Hasan.
Not always. I am famously.
Okay, we're walking that back. Sometimes I speak out the side of my mouth when I say you work with the ADL.
So.
Here you are again repeating the lie with Steiny on video. Go ahead. You had time
constantly come after me when his knows I'm not anti-Semitic and making these inferences that I am and like partnering with like the ADL and
partnering with the ADL. You want to? How do you justify that? That there's no. There is no other interpretation for what that means. It's just he's lying to my fucking face and to all the audience. And the fact that people are watching that and believing it is truly, it's like, what? How am I supposed to feel as a human being? I'm just so demoralized by that. Want to unpack that one there, buddy?
Yeah. Again, partnering with the ADL. That is precisely what took place.
I have never spoken to the ADL, so what does that mean?
I'm not saying you directed the ADL
Do you know
to take
how
action.
silly you
Well, actually, you know what? I am kind of saying that. I am implying that you directed the ADL to take action.
Well, that's a defamatory claim that has zero proof. And frankly, it sounds a little Jewish conspiratorial.
If I thought that you worked for the ADL, I wouldn't have said
not
you worked
spoken
with
to the ADL.
I would have said you worked for the ADL. Now, what's interesting to me...
Partner. This motherfucker said he's partnered up with the ADL.
And then he's just like, yeah, no, I am speculating, but I am standing by that.
Because he's standing by his lie that, his point is that we were working towards the same goal, which is hilarious because Hasan would never accept someone being like, oh, you're partnered with Nazis because they're anti-Zionist. They hate Israel. They hate Jewish people.
Sure.
You're partnered with them. You're working with them? Of course not. Here he is reiterating his support for the Houthies on his own stream after getting called out.
You said Ethan's words can make...
Why is he watching this old video of me? Like, bro, what?
He seemed pro-Zionist and that he should be more thoughtful, but when he pointed out that your language could come off as supportive of terrorism, why not just admit that you're careless sometimes too to his fans? It made you look like you can't admit fault. I have no problem with the Houthis. Yeah.
By the way, and that's exactly my point. And it's just so reasonably stated too, from someone in his chat. They're like, dude, just concede that he gets all up in arms like, how dare you say I support terrorism? And then he comes out and says, 10 toes down. Houthis are great. I love them. They should get a Nobel Peace Prize. Just kidnapping 15 unaffiliated civilians for a year is justified. It's called deterrent. And then he goes, why are you saying I support terrorism? Just at least own the fact that it at least sounds like you do.
Yeah, because I don't. What do you mean? If you think I'm a terrorism supporter for that reason, then yeah, I'm a fucking terrorism supporter. What are you talking?
Why?
In this video, you mentioned the ADL.
Oh, yeah. You want to pull up that clip? How pathetic he's actually. So here's the thing. He didn't mean that. Him pulling up this clip is proof that he meant that I am working directly with them. Otherwise, he wouldn't feel the need to pull this up because his claim was that I work beside them. This clip is his evidence. Oh, you got it? Let me see. Look at this shit.
They need a lot of time to think about it. And I think, yeah, like when the ADL got involved, that's only when they finally suspended Frogan and all the other people up on the stage. When a sitting congressman started writing letters.
That's it.
Posting on Twitter. Then they said, okay, we should probably do something. But
so there's currently...
That's it. That's it. Literally just recapping what happened.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
And we were all saying like it's dumb that fucking the ADL were the ones that came in and did something before Twitch was even listening to us. This was a huge controversy that went way beyond our community. And it was at the same time as the vets have deserve PTSD comment too. So
I hope you get PTSD.
give me a break. You know what I mean? You're a fucking liar.
The tier list made it even to news in Israel.
Yeah, that's, oh no, it's me. And they go, oh, Ethan went out of his way to try to get these people deplatformed. It's like, can you please have even one tiny crumb of accountability for anything?
It's the 2025 version of Ethan can call up YouTube CEO. Remember when people used to accuse you of
even
that?
more, honestly, it's even more anti-Semitic. Like Susan Wojcinski, by the way, rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Right to the goat, dude.
It's just
It is
quite
really sad.
honestly. She's dead, Dan. She's actually dead.
You know,
I don't know if you know that. Dan was laughing.
The one time that we met her was when we were about to have Theodore, our first baby, and she gave us a sleep sack for him.
We still use it.
We still use it right now with Sunny. It is really sad story about her and her son. Anyway.
Yeah, it's her. Yeah, well, terrible.
But at the time, people used to accuse you of having like a speed dial
with the
access
Jewish
to her
CEO.
to like, I don't know what, to get other people deplatformed.
Yeah.
Never. We only met her once.
It's a bad example though, because that was true.
Right.
Yeah, you guys could really use her right now.
I know. Where's
I wish
she
was around.
Hasan already reacted to Ian's new video, by the way, on stream in full. People were remember Hasan was like,
"It's such a joke."
That's it. He's just such a joke. He goes, Ethan's strategy and immediately reacting to Ian's video is to pause it so much and talk about it so much that you don't know what the video is about. This guy watched his video. He spent, as I read, 4 hours watching the video on stream. And then he spent another like few hours watching some hate video about you being a terrorist or something, which is
about me.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
They're pretty invested in
Yeah.
in hating. And again, I've yet to watch a single Hasan hate video. You know, he already posted it to YouTube. Jesus, iDubbbz versus Ethan Klein round 2. You know, I hope that at least some people in his audience were able to be like turned off.
By the way, the terrorist thing, again, to go to like how they take meaning away from words. If you want to call me a terrorist, like that tells me your privilege and that you never lived under terror, you know? Like you've never experienced.
You said,
well, listen.
A terror attack.
The difference
I mean,
is
I
that-
grew up having to be afraid to go on a bus, my dad wouldn't let me go to the mall, anywhere
listen.
public. Like
In Gaza, I'm sure it's not very, it's very scary.
Okay,
right?
I can understand that, but there's no reason for anybody to try to argue that you should call me a terrorist. And
Well,
if they want to do that, they're being ridiculous.
The reason why is because it's mandatory conscription. Terrorism, people get recruited. They join terrorist organizations because they want to kill people.
Mm-hmm.
People get recruited into the IDF it's mandatory. And not everybody in the IDF is actually the vast majority of people in the IDF are not doing anything combat related.
And I've said many times I was a secretary.
A lot of the stuff is just like infrastructure and society based type of shit. So yeah, no, Hila's not a terrorist. Somebody who's like, I want to join the Houthies so that I want to join Hamas so I can like suicide bomb a cafe. That's someone who's like, yeah. And they're like, yeah, I'm a terrorist. I want to be a terrorist. I am a terrorist. You know what I mean? Could you argue that like the IDF commits acts of terror? Yeah. You know what I mean? For sure. But that's why it says it's more complicated, because it's not like you can't just say, oh, they're a terror org, because it's mandatory conscription and the vast majority of people involved are not doing combat. So even if you want to say like the people in the IDF are terrorists, it doesn't really hold up to scrutiny because of what I said.
Mm-hmm.
Ethan's words can make him seem pro-Zionist and that he should be more thoughtful, but when he pointed out that your language
Oh, I
can come
never got
off
to
as
show his
supportive of
response.
terrorism, why not just admit that you're careless sometimes too to his fans? It made you look like you can't admit fault. I have no problem with the Houthies. Yeah, because I don't. What do you mean? If you think I'm a terrorism supporter for that reason, then yeah, I'm a fucking terrorism supporter. What are you talking about?
Okay.
The Houthis
Then we
and their
agree.
militancy in the Red Sea is a perfectly moral action. What would you do? If there was a genocide happening in your fucking backyard?
Are all the missiles
That's it.
that they're shooting
And
at
Ethan
Israel
had no
okay?
answer for that.
He says, I had no answer for that. I continually had an answer. I said, you do what you did, but don't kidnap 15 fucking Filipino sailors and keep them prisoner for a year for no reason. They didn't even get anything out of it. They just eventually had to return them because they were getting pressured by all the human rights orgs. You know? Such a coward.
I'm curious, does he have a problem with all the missiles they're shooting at Israel?
Fuck no. No, actually the opposite. When the missile hit the airport, he was on Twitch celebrating. The title of his
How
stream...
do you explain that? Because if it had hit, like, it luckily hit in an open field right next to, I mean, as it was part of the
airport's a very big
airport, but
area.
it landed outside in the open space, and if it would have landed on the structure, it could have been very disastrous.
He thinks it's good.
But those are innocent civilians.
No,
I
he
don't
doesn't have a
understand.
problem with killing or maiming or kidnapping innocent civilians. He made
Okay.
that very clear.
Mhm.
He says it's a deterrent.
How does that help Palestine?
It doesn't, frankly. And by the way, Yemen is like, he keeps chirping about how Yemen's the poorest country in the world. It's like, well,
And
then
now they're getting bombed by the
what's
IDF.
the point of fucking spending money on missiles and shit that are just either getting shot down by the whatever.
Yeah.
Point is that the name of his stream was Houthies show the limit of the Iron Dome ! Like celebrating. So yeah, he's happy about it. And that was being promoted by Twitch on the front page.
Wow.
Yeah. Let me just say this one nice thing
My
about
favorite thing
Frogan.
about the debate yesterday was him getting mad at Hasan for having armpit hair. But his armpit as this profile picture, he just zoomed in randomly, starts shit talking. Honestly, dude, I will say Ethan is really funny sometimes.
Girl, I've always liked you. Honestly, Frogan, I knew you were a real one. This never should have been, this feud between us. Yeah, there's more.
Like, I don't understand why he fucking like hyper focused on the armpit hair. Like, that's had me crying.
Girl,
And then when he was like talking about man, he's like, fucking broccoli hair. Fucking broccoli. You look like fucking broccoli. And Dan's like, actually broccoli's more round. He's like, oh yeah. Fucking broccoli.
I didn't know what she's talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about.
What?
There was another day that you were saying you were making fun of his hair and you called him broccoli head, and I corrected you because I'm like, it's not the shape of broccoli.
Oh, so she's that stuck with her.
Yeah,
I
so
gotta
she was-
actually, I respect this because I'm always like, these people that hate watch the show, they watch like 3 hours of it. You're telling me they don't chuckle one time? Like, that's impossible. So at least she admits it. So Frogan,
Honestly, dude,
I see you, girl.
I will say Ethan is really funny sometimes.
I know it. Thank you so much for saying that. It truly means the world to me.
Ethan is really funny
We can
sometimes.
finally agree on something, Frogan.
Truly, truly a great person. No criticism of her at all.